couple opening remarks. Listen, obviously it's been a difficult season. Yesterday we made some tough decisions. I have great respect for Frank Reich. He's a fine man. Also, Coach Tabor moved on from Josh and Deuce yesterday, who are also very good men. Tabor will be up to answer questions on them later. With that, I'll just open it for questions.
If y'all hang on, I will select everybody for questions. So if you want to raise your hand, take the first question from
Dave. You admitted you made some mistakes with the hiring of Matt Rule. What were the mistakes in the hiring of Frank Reich?
Look, every coach that we've had here has had contributions to this organization. Frank has contributions to the organization. Matt had contributions to the organizations. And, quite frankly, if I had my druthers, I'd like to have a coach here for 20 years or 30 years, if I can do that. I'm not going to get into the individual sort of things. You guys can just speculate as to that. We just moved on yesterday, and that's that.
Okay, first we'll have Joe Person, followed by Steve Reed.
Dave, you guys are 30 and 63 since you became owner. I think it's the second worst mark in the NFL, one of the worst marks in pro sports. You're about to hire your fourth head coach. Do you need to reevaluate the way you do things in terms of, A, maybe using a search firm in this hiring process, but also in how you manage day-to-day operations here?
Look, things are constantly evolving. And they'll continue to evolve. And, trying to make things better is what you always try to do. Obviously, that record's not good enough. There's no hiding it. It is what it is, like everything in this sport. Everything's left on the field. Everybody knows what is every week. That record's that record. And like I said, it's not good enough. We're going to self-reflect and make it better.
Dave, you fired 3 coaches during the season, since the time you took over. Do you feel like that is going to make it more difficult to get a quality head coach here if you choose to hire someone next year?
No.
And why?
I think that, I don't know, and again, I'm not going to get into it here, but I think that, there are different reasons why different things happened in each case. You guys see, like I said, everything is out in the field. Everything is known over time. And I think people know it, the league knows it, and people in the league know it. So I think that if everything was perfect, it wouldn't be the case. And everything was good, it wouldn't be the case. So it's not as if it's not known out there, reasons, and, that will be something for people to decide. Just generally speaking, and not here, but and not that this matters because this is here. But, in other aspects of my life, we have people for 20, 30 years that work for me. Nobody ever leaves me.
We'll go Phil Orbit and Josh Klein.
When Matt was hired, you preached patience and it was kind of a year-over-year evaluation. Frank gets fired 11 weeks in. To what extent was that due to maybe a philosophical shift in how you view timelines for a rebuild or turnaround?
Look, as I said, there are reasons for each individual situation. I think you guys, upon your own reflection into looking what happened through the season, can understand that. You're around town, for those that are around town, and can know the reasons. Again, I'm not going to get into that particularly, into those particulars, but I do have patience. I'm just not, my reputation away from this game is one for extreme patience. There's no reason why that doesn't, come here too. It does. Now, that patience comes with good performance and things that you want to see progress being made on different aspects. And as I said, I would like to have somebody here for 20, 30 years. I'd like to have somebody that would say eulogy at my funeral in 30 years. Okay, maybe it's 40 years, I hope. But that's what I'd like to have.
Next we'll have Mike Kay, and Eric Spanberg.
Yeah, you preached. You talked about your patience.
It's a lot of preaching that I'm doing. By the way, so.
You talked about your patience. When you moved on from Ron Rivera, you urged the fan base to have patience in terms of bringing in sustained excellence, sustained success. What would your message to fans be now, 4 years later, that maybe feel like their patience hasn't been rewarded or it's not moving in the right direction right now?
You know, every week, you know, I watch these games, and I've watched, you know, been around football for a long time. And listen, once upon a time, I was just a fan, poor kid in Pittsburgh. That's what I was. So I know what it is to be a fan, and every day, every week we come in, as part of us are fans. Okay, Nicole and I sit in that box, and we live and die with every play. So I understand how the fans, and I understand their frustration, and I appreciate that. I can just say this, we will make it better. I'm not promising that's going to happen tomorrow, but it may, okay? Football is a really interesting thing, what can happen in 2 or 3 year time span. And what you're trying to do is have every single building block you can for, you know, an organization. And in this organization, you know, while you don't see it, you know, because you see, all you see is on the field, but you guys may know it or may not know it. But behind the scenes, there's been a lot of different changes in the building and a lot of things that have become a lot better inside the building. You know, and just how different people communicate, you know, health, you know, strength room and, you know, and medical people, you know, football operations, nutrition, all those things, all those building blocks underneath the surface have gotten better than when I stepped in the door. Listen, they may be easier things to do, okay? And so we have to make sure that the other things that the fans can see is better too. And also I would say that for, you know, engagement with past Panthers. And, you know, you should invite you to talk to people who, you know, legends that were here at the Panthers. So we have not gotten what the fans see every day, right? I understand their frustration. We share that frustration every Sunday with them.
Now we got Mike Day and Eric Spanberg.
David, in April, you said when you guys drafted Bryce, you said that he was a point guard style distributor who could elevate the talent around him. My question to you is, do you feel like you've put enough around him for him to elevate? And with that said, how will that evaluation of the roster in the next 6 weeks factor into how you evaluate the front office?
Look, you know, there's a lot that goes into, you know, what the success on the field is every week. One is roster, some is scheme, how you practice, a lot of things. And obviously we can be better in all phases of that because the product on the field is just not good enough right now. It just isn't. And so we have to try to make every one of those phases better. And whatever it takes to make it better, we're going to try to do.
Eric?
Dave, you've obviously had a lot of changes, not just on the football side, but on the administrative side, also with Charlotte FC. And you just mentioned a few minutes ago that you're patient. So why do you think there is so much constant churn in this organization, and what can you do to stabilize it?
It's, you know, that's an interesting question when you talk about that churn and then what the results are, you know, for that churn, what you call churn. You know, every case is something is done here. It's not just done because it's done by idle wish. There's a reason and there's a purpose and there's a result and the things goes on. When you talk about the, you know, different parts of this this franchise or this building, if you're referring to the business, you're a business guy. You know, when we came here, there were 10 events a year in this stadium, basically, plus 1 or 2 more, maybe. I think we did 42 events last year in this field, not counting high school football that we brought back for the first time in this stadium and other things like that, other type charity things. So they're not even counting those sort of things, but major type events. Brought soccer to Charlotte. The stands are full. If you were at that last game with Miami, I mean, it was a joyful sort of experience when Messi came to town, and I think the fans were elated in that sort of, you know, in that point. And there have been highs, you know, there's been highs and lows everywhere. Every game there's some highs, there's some lows. Gano's big kick, you know, when Eric Reed was here for the first game. So there's highs in footballs and other places. But when you look at, you know, since you're asking a business question, I'll answer a business question. When you look at us and how we have and how we do business. And now are we successful in pulling off all these different events we put here? Yeah, we are. And what we've done is really led to higher economic impact for Charlotte. And we look at the future for things like that as things that we might do in the future, whether they're an entertainment venue that may do 80 more sort of small concerts, 3,000 to 5,000 people, that will bring people down there. We'll bring that here. And we think we brought a lot of economic development into the town, and we have. The numbers show it. I mean, you know the numbers. So I don't think that when you look at the management team and you look at the stability of the management team now, we finally, I think we, and listen, you're always trying to make it better. But I think we have a pretty good management team on the business side right now. And we are pulling off pretty seamlessly all these events.
Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
This is the last question. Thank you.
Yeah.
David, in terms of, he said okay to me.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Tepper. In terms of Bryce Young, I want to jump back on what Mike said earlier about Bryce. There's been a lot of reports over the last few days, in fact, that Frank wanted C.J. Stroud. You tipped the scales and said you wanted Bryce Young. Is that true? And then also seeing what C.J. Stroud is doing in Houston, did that make it, the comparisons even that much greater because of what you're seeing in Houston as opposed to here?
Just the way our processes go here, and I'll just answer this really plain. On all those decisions, whether it was the head coach, whether it was Bryce, I don't really vote on those decisions until the last piece. Okay, so those decisions are made by, in the case of by the football people. Now, look, everything that's right and everything that's wrong here ultimately is my fault. Okay, I have the final say. But as far as those decisions, whether it's Frank Wright or it's Bryce Young, those decisions were made, and in the case of Bryce, it was almost, I believe it was a unanimous decision on the coaches and the scouts, and very strong opinions at the time. Now, it's been reported, and we talked about it. Originally, we were going to go with the number 2 pick, and we thought we would get CJ because we thought the Texans were going to pick Bryce. And listen, we preferred Bryce. He was our number 1 pick. We had a lot of conviction. In answer to your questions, it's just not the way the process was done. The process was done the way the process was done. And again, even though if there was a process with 5 people in the room and the way the votes came in, Frank was the first choice, I always could veto that choice. And even if it was Bryce and the votes came in unanimously in this particular case, I could have vetoed that choice. In both cases, I supported both choices. Okay? I'm just going to say that I supported both choices. I supported the coaches. I supported the scouts, their unanimous opinion. And I supported Frank Reich. So whatever's good, bad, or indifferent is ultimately because the buck stops here, and I take full responsibility for everything. But that's the way the process runs. And just one last thing, and then we're going to go here. As far as Bryce Young is concerned, I cannot say this, for myself, and I think everybody in this building would share this sentiment. We are totally confident in that pick. Okay, I think the people that made that pick first, would be totally confident in that. Some of them you could ask. Okay, and I think and for me, I'm totally confident in agreeing with that pick.
All right, thank you.